Another podcast episode idea. Knowing your target audience. So there has been a lot of talk of um, if someone speaks one way and then speaks a completely different um, jargon in another, then it's, for some reason, it's kind of weird. It just doesn't connect that there is a need to be multifaceted. So we all heard of the term target audience, right? We're living in the golden age of technology and learning information. Everything's at the fingertips. They literally shove ebooks of how-tos down your throat. So I've been learning the back ends of business and the strategies and the structure behind it. And one of the things is knowing your target audience, right? Knowing who you are providing a service to, who you are serving to get what you want, right? It's part of a persuasive speech. And with target audience, whatever you're trying to achieve, right? Whatever you're trying to sell, you have to appeal to the person you're trying to sell it to. So, I used to sell crystals back in the day, right? And that's when, I'm still on my walk with God. And it's kind of just solidified just to kind of leave that stuff be. But for that, I'm just going to use it as a reference because there's a certain speech, which I understand. I understand it. I understand the principles behind it. I understand the theory on it. And I love crystals. I'm not going to front. I love the way they look. I had to kind of step back with property-wise, but crystals are in the Bible. Period. Crystals are in the Bible. But I just like the way what stones look like and how they crystallize and the points and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Colors and stuff like that. But when I was selling crystals, I sold in person and I sold online. And there is a specific jargon that you need to have. Energy and, knowing specific attributes of the crystals and how to structure your words to make sure that you are worthy to be bought, right? When it comes to business and marketing, there is a sense of you need to have a sense of authority, right? Because you're selling a solution to a problem. And you need for that person that's buying from you to be able to trust you, so there needs to be some form of authority there that I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, and you need to buy this because I'm here to solve all your problems, right? That is like pretty much the basics fundamental of all business. You solve a problem, and you make sure that you tell the people that you're selling it to that I'm your best option to solve X, Y, and Z. So in order for you to do that, you need to learn your product. You need to learn the people that like your product, and you need to adapt the speech that they talk. So when I was I had to do not really a business plan, which I probably should have did, but when I was first learning, I didn't do a business plan, but I did do research on my demographic. And you literally have to become that person. So if it's like middle age, people that live in California or the West Coast, or people that live in more suburban or rural areas, more nature, more nature themed places. Learn their pay grade, learn their activities. They like to do, they do yoga. Do they eat alternative lifestyle? Is it more holistic? Is it vegan? Things like that, right? Crystals are nature. So, my speech and however I spoke to them during social media platforms was completely different. When I was selling in person, it was very much like love and light, like, and I kept that jargon, and I sold a lot of crystals in one day because I knew the speech, I knew who I was talking to, and I knew who to target. And that's exactly what it is. So right now, I'm on my whole journey, and I've graduated from a lot of classes, and I'm doing a nonprofit. And our mission is specific. It's very specified. It's not broad at all. So my speech and tone of who I speak to is very specific, and there's a lot of research that went in behind it because I had to know the back ends of it, since I was not particularly in the field itself. I was a byproduct of what we're trying to serve, right? So I know that side of it. But when a product is multifaceted, right? So you need to learn who you're selling it to, especially when it comes to nonprofits. You need to know the people that you serve all the way to a T, which I know how to do because I'm one of them. But you also need to know general public of helping the community, and you need to know how to speak to donors. It's a completely different speech. Trustees and stakeholders, stuff like that. Proposal writing, they're completely different speeches. So if I'm doing my executive summary, I'm bringing out every word in thesaurus, okay? I'm using ambiguous, and I'm using superfluous, and all type of words, right? Well, the actual people that I serve, I'm literally talking like it's okay, like let's break the stigma, or I get it, stuff like that. It's simple, but it's complicated because you have to learn the speech, and then on top of that, you need to know some psychology because we're in a psychology field. You have to know a lot of psychology, but my walk with God and everything that I have been through was catered for me to know why my niche is so important, right? I was born for this niche, pretty much, because I'm part of the niche, and you cannot truly help someone unless you can put yourself in their shoes, and that's extremely hard. To have a burning passion for something that you've never experienced. So it's a blessing to know that side of it. I look at it not as a bad thing of things that I've been through, but as I needed to go to this school so I can get my degree in this. And it was tough school. Tuition over there is hell of a price to pay. But I graduated because I went through so many steps and classes, so a lot of learning experiences. But I know the jargon of it. I know the back end of it. You need to live in, you need to breathe it, you need to immerse yourself fully within it. And that's why it kind of comes so hard to get people that are passionate behind your cause. Because if that person has never gone through it, it's a dissonance there that person, it doesn't connect fully. They may be at 99% like gun-ho, but they're not 100%. Maybe in some areas, but not full-heartedly if they've never been through that particular journey of what we do. So it's either sympathy, and that person has to be extremely empathetic for them to kind of be invested. But you need to be multifaceted. You need to be able to develop your speech. You honestly need to have poise. I can do this all day by myself, but it's almost like a double-edged sword, because I know my niche so well that I now have attributes of it. So, I have social anxiety. And yeah, I've battled a lot and I've overcame a lot, but it doesn't mean that things don't still affect me, right? But that's part of the niche. I had to go through it in order for me to know. So you have to pretty much find components that are going to strengthen your weaknesses, like a SWOT. I know my strength and my opportunities that can make it thrive. So I can name a whole list of things, and it took a long time for me to get there, but I can name quite a hefty list of my strengths and positive things that go through. So one of the biggest things when it comes to nonprofits is storytelling. I'm the ultimate storyteller because I've gone through it. So I can tell my story, and it wouldn't be something that when you go through something, it's endearing to tell your story and attach it to a cause. It's very intimate. It's very transparent. It's a relationship that you now have with public, with a person that you are trying to get a connection with to relate to your cause. So no one likes to tell their story. Nobody. I'm sorry. It takes quite a bit of courage for people just to be like, F it, I'm just going to say it anyway. But I've noticed that I hear a lot of speeches and sermons and interviews. People are they're very shallow with their stories. I'm not saying that they're shallow as a person, but they're very shallow in the concept of this is how deep I'm going to go with you when it comes to my life. Very few people are like, yeah, it is what it was. I did this, I did that, and I did this, and I probably shouldn't have done this, but I learned this. Or, I did all these great things, but then I messed up here. Whatever. This is like the good and the ebbs and flows of life. Not many people are brave enough to show their ebbs and their flow. Tell me about the time that your uncle touched you. Tell me about the time that you had a nephew and you wanted to touch him, but you didn't. Tell me some shit like that. Something that is extremely real. Not many people will go there. I'm not saying that everybody's a child molester or whatever, but that's just an example. And most people will not go that far because it's the skeletons in the closet. It's a specific jargon that you have to. It's a whole jargon of your whole mindset. In actuality, because you have to get to the point where you're pretty much, you have that stockism where you don't give a shit. And it's my story. It is what it is. You take it for where you want to take it from. If you don't like it, then that's not my problem. You didn't have to live this life. You didn't. And if you don't like it, you don't necessarily have to be here, right? So we will want you to be here, but if it gets to the point where that person does not, then they don't. But there's a lot of stories, and people would usually say their story if they're in an environment where there is comfortability for them to say their story. And that goes with lack of judgment. So, someone could care for you all they want, but they'll still make an indirect joke about you. to your face like it's all good, and you're looking at them like it went over your head. The whole thing went over your head. And so people still make jokes. It is what it is. But that person can relate to you in one way, but cannot relate to you in others. So there's this whole like anti-bullying when it comes to kids. But there's a whole lot of bullies in adults. And it's just like nobody addresses their bully. Nobody addresses their bully. But they damn sure will go rock on their kids. You're a kid too if you're bullying. Honestly, you're a kid. Because you can't decipher to have compassion. Same stuff you're teaching your kid you don't know how to do. Where's your emotional intelligence? If you're trying to teach a child emotional intelligence, doesn't make sense. So, there's that, You can't be fully immersed and know your target audience if you are not trying to change yourself or trying to learn yourself or try to learn or be empathetic to other things. Truly empathetic, not just showing empathy. Because people are fickle. People are extremely fickle. You don't know what goes on in the mind of other people. You can say one thing and that person takes it a completely different way, and it's just like, that's not even what was meant. That's because of implicit bias, right? So, you hear a back end story of someone. It's like implicit bias. Oh, how I love and hate the term, because it happens every day in life. And it leads to ostracization, isolation. It can lead to abuse if it's not checked. The person's mentality is not mature, doesn't have wisdom, lack of wisdom. But the Truman Show. This man was being monitored from the time he was a baby. And every person that he lived in this like movie set, and they watched every little thing that he did, even from the time he slept to the time he went to the bathroom and took a number 2, to everything, right? Everybody documented his whole life, and the whole world's watching him. And he didn't know it until after he started kind of like seeing clues, right? He started to see, and that seriously can drive someone crazy. If you're being watched and you don't know, and every person that you talk to talks to you a certain way, right? They watch you all the time, so they know your personality. They know the things that you like. They know the things you dislike. They know the things that you don't even want to tell people. They know it, and it's scary. Because if it falls in the wrong hands, that person can now use the information that they know on you to manipulate you. And Truman was being manipulated all throughout the movie, even towards the end, because they didn't want him to find out, right? So they would do things like, okay, he's turning the corner. Oh, shoot. He looks like he's finding out. Let's change the script. People do that. Opportunists do that, right? So, it's like I gotta pause it. Okay, forgot where I left off. Something about the Truman Show. Okay, I know. Okay, so I think we were talking about opportunists, implicit bias, Truman Show, right? Okay, right. So there's all these people that pretty much everybody, not all these people, everybody knows Truman, and they watch him and they make sure they go with the script to keep him asleep, right? And it gets really scary because there are really meaningful connections that humans desire, right? Now, what happens if all of the relationships that you have now conjured up, even to your parents, are not real. They're not innate. They're not innate at all. So, what does it show with that? He had parents that wasn't his. He had a wife that wasn't his. I think he had kids that was not his. And people do that in life. People, and it's like running game, right? If a guy likes a girl, he tries to find everything about her, right? He stalks her Facebook, asks his friends about her, whatever. Tries to learn everything that she likes, right? And when he's ready to approach, what he'll do, and I've noticed it time and time again, they start saying things that completely appeal to you. If you like poetry, they love poetry. If you like the color blue, they wearing blue clothes. If you like a specific author, all of a sudden the book is in his bag. That boy's never read a book in his life. And all of a sudden now he's a book reader. They start speaking your jargon, right? They start speaking their target audience because they're trying to win you. That's all it is. People are great pretenders in life, and we all do it, right? It's the heart. In actuality, it's your heart. What is your intention with it? What is your principles and your moral standing? Because you, with great power, there's responsibility. Great responsibility, right? But some people use it for bad. Some people use it where I was trying to get her, so I wanted to have sex with her. So I do everything I could. Or girls do it too. I'm gonna wear this and wear that and wear this because I know that he likes that. Then I'm gonna get everything I want and drain his behind. People do it. And they do it for all the wrong reasons. But bringing it back to the Truman Show, that man went crazy in the end. He started to panic. If you was being watched and did not know, and every single time you interacted with people, dropped you little hints, right? Of trying to either commentary or mold you into what they want you to do. You don't know who the hell to trust. You start getting paranoid and you start staying inside the house, right? More often than what you're used to doing. Because people are scary. People are scary enough that you have to bring mace with you. So, Truman finally had enough of it. And everyone was making it seem as though he was the one that was in the wrong. He was the one that was going crazy. And what? Okay. So people will try to mold you. The wrong people will try to mold you. Even the right people will try to mold you. But you don't know who to trust. That's the game. You don't know who to trust. The only thing you know how to do is lean to the Lord to see discernment. Other than that, you don't know who the hell to trust. And that's due to implicit bias. Because you were nosy enough to watch every little thing I did, you now made an assumption of me. So even my train of thought, you tried to decipher because you know so much information. It's a case study now, right? So you're actually watching a case study. You're in a field that you have no training in, and you try to do cases. So many people try to do case studies of other people from what they heard, right? People gossip all the time and try to do a case study. What's wrong with this person? Oh, they probably doing this. And it's like, you have no idea. Shut up. Have a seat. You have no idea. But people do it. And some people nail it. Most do not. But that trust factor is now diminished. I can't trust you. Truman can't trust you. Because you guys think that you guys can solve a problem that you have no idea the elements on what it truly is. So you diagnose it in your head. You know, people diagnose all the time. They'll literally say,
Mommy, I thought.
Go in. You're fine, Oliver. Go in. You said that you didn't what?
I thought they were in the 309 store.
Okay, well then you found it, right?
But they were in the room.
Okay. I have to find back my train of thought with this. Okay, implicit bias. People will go crazy because people tend to fall into the classification of being implicitly biased, if that's a word. But it's really messed up because they'll try to dig on whatever information that they can get, right? And then the stupid part about it is that they'll literally listen to unreliable sources. That source you're listening to may be an enemy. So, yeah, that person is going to have a completely different perspective of you than someone that doesn't know you at all. Or someone that does know you and they like you. So, I'm a devil to one and I'm a dog to another. It is what it is. So it depends who you speak to, how you're going to approach me, how you're going to approach other people, and all the surrounding factors around it, right? So Truman didn't get sane until he actually left. He bailed out and was like, F you, this is a shit show. And he actually started to see how grand of a scale the surveillance was, and it really started to mess with him because everyone that you know is playing a game with you. And it's not just I know information that you don't know. Those things start playing with your emotions. They start playing with your finances. They start playing with all type of stuff. For you're sitting here talking to somebody that you would never talk to, but because they know how to appeal to you, because they know all of your information, you then become friends with that person. And that person's they're pulling the strings of the things that they know to get you. Now, what if you met a person that strictly was just like, okay, that person knows how to do X, Y, and Z, and I need for them to do that so I can get up here. So I'm going to befriend them because I can surely use them. You're not my friend because you like me. You like what I can offer. So it's just like people observe and people tend to use. Or people observe and people tend to come up with a diagnosed opinion, right, of who you are. You're a pushover, or you're a bitch, or whatever opinion they have of you, and they use that. So there is no such thing as, there is a such thing. People just ignore it. There is a such thing as privacy. People choose to ignore it. It's not the fact that privacy no longer exists. Privacy does exist. It's those who exercise it and have those principles to do so. That's the only way it survives. Now, if you abandon that, then yeah, you can say privacy doesn't exist. But privacy does exist. It all starts with you, right? We can't talk about privacy when you're the one that's speaking, right? You have no ground to stand on to say that privacy is. You have none of that, right? Because if somebody did it to you, you will be a Truman. You will be a Truman. So it just happens that way, right? But we're talking about targeted audiences and stuff like that, right? But it ties into it. If somebody wants something, or they're trying to, I just want to be your friend, or I want to be your spouse. they will use those things. And it sucks because it's just like, it's best not to be with anybody if it's like that, because you don't truly know who the hell you were with. Because that person decided, I'm going to just put you as my face so you'll like me. And not for nothing, I don't want to date me. I don't want to date someone that likes every single thing that I like. I don't want to date someone that their whole appeal is literally me. I need a yang to my yin. like there's some things that is supposed to be balanced. Two of the same things, unless we're perfect, it ain't gonna work. There's some strengths I'm gonna need you to have, and there's some weaknesses that I'm gonna need you to have. So, what happens when everything's based on a lie? You don't trust anybody, and then you start staying inside the house, and you don't want to go outside, because every time you go outside, somebody got some shit to say that they had no business even knowing, right? So, it is what it is now. No one's supposed to know I had PTSD. No one's supposed to know I had depression until I let you know. It's HIPAA laws behind this, right? I let you know this. And people will literally, well, now they know because I'm a nonprofit, but it's a simple fact of this. If I chose to give you the information, it's my privilege to do so. You took away all my privileges. I don't have human rights, okay? I have no human rights because you decided that you wanted to pry and take the right of me having my own dignity, having my own story. Like, it's not my story anymore. Because once people know, people will sit there and run with it, right? And if you don't know that they know, forget it. The story can, it's like the chain line of somebody says one word, and by the time it gets to like the 20th person, the message completely changes. That's exactly what that is. So people will have their opinion of you, and then they'll speak from their perspective, and it alters, not knowing the true source of it. So it's just like people project all the time. I project. Everybody projects. But if you're not aware of it, it's like at a alarming amount, right? You can't face yourself, forget it. If you can't think logically, forget it. And a lot of people can't do that. So you'll have an opinion off of something. I don't care if it's a nice opinion or not. It's the fact that you have an opinion off of something that you have no grounds of even having an opinion for, right? If I knew all your family and I knew exactly what you ate for dinner, and I know your mannerisms, and I know when you farted and when you did it, I think you'll be quite uncomfortable about how much I actually know. You actually think I'm kind of creepy, in all honesty. And people can't hide it. They can't hide it. In the Truman Show, they can't hide it. It just automatically comes down to conversation because you're so used to knowing the person that things slip out. And you're thinking, because you don't know, at that point, you don't know, am I supposed to not know this or am I supposed to know this, right? So you just start speaking, you may say something that may trigger the other person, like, how do you know that? Why do you know that? I never told you jack shit. And you're in your head like, why is she acting like this? Or why is Truman acting like this? Right? And it's because of your own fault. Now, this comes into sin as well, because not for nothing, prying into someone's life and having a discussion about it is gossiping. I don't care if you do it in public. I don't care if you do it in a private phone call. You're gossiping. I don't care if you sit on a platform and talk about somebody else's life. You are gossiping. If you haven't got it from the horse's mouth, and you haven't spoken to the person about it to get a full understanding of it, and that person to give you permission to talk about it, you're gossiping. Whether you leave names out of it or not. And people will make a whole case study. People made a whole case study of Truman without him even knowing. The whole world was watching him, crying at every moment, laughing at the funny parts and angry when certain things would happen. And he didn't even know. And then guess what? After show, they have an after show talk what happened in Truman Show next week. We'll find out. And they'll have a whole discussion about it. You're gossiping on someone's life. It's real. It's excuse my language, but it's fucked up. It's fucked up to watch somebody and then to discuss them like they're not a human being. It is. Who is that person? Who can that person turn to? Someone that does not watch TV. That's the only person that Truman can actually have a true connection with, a pure connection with, because that person has no idea about Truman. And it's literally a trust factor there now. That I'm trusting you to be yourself, and the other person's trusting that, vice versa. But if you rob that, there is no pure connection anymore. Now, forever, I'm going to be, looking at you a certain type of way. Truman is always going to be looking at someone that type of way. How much do you actually know? And why are you being nice to me? Do you want something? Are you trying to get something? God forbid if I was a millionaire, there will be people knocking on my door every fucking day trying to be nice to me. Oh, because they know. Hey, what's up, girl? No. It's not what's up. I don't know you. Who is that? Did God send you? My discernment got to be ultra high. Right? If someone, that's like the devil knows everything about you. You literally try to guard and rebuke and pray it out of every sector of your life. People that watch you and use you and lean on implicit biases and know how to market to you, you literally got to have discernment and rebuke it if need be, and barricade yourself, because you don't know who is who. You're gonna let a snake into your fortress, and it's going to tear it from the inside out. And I don't know who you are. Even preachers are nice. Not every preacher is nice. There's some preachers that are awesome. Some preachers that I love. Love what they do. I truly do. And then there's some of them that it's just like, yeah, you're not a nice person at all. At all. It's implicit bias, target audience. I know how to phrase my stuff to make it seem as though this is breakdown of pastor. I know how to use stuff to try to help you. But it all depends on my delivery. Some people like the conviction aspect of it. I'm going to convict you all day. And if you feel some type of way about my delivery, then you just mad. Or, just a hater. Or the devil's in you and you need to be rebuked. And it's just like, no, your delivery sucks. Your delivery sucks. There's people that I'm in group with, and it's a delivery system. People say the most wildest shit, and I could easily be like, well, you're not supposed to be like that, and da da da. Am I going to catch more flies with vinegar, or am I going to catch them more with honey? And with honey comes with understanding. So if you don't understand it, and you're literally trying to make a whole sermon off of something that you don't truly understand, how can you truly try to help somebody? You're in an arena that you have nothing about. Have a seat. You can learn something, because you know nothing about it. And you're literally talking like you have authority in the subject. Mental health just now started. Secular and spiritual are just now starting to intertwine. Psychology was something that's considered to be extremely secular, and it was not welcomed in the house of the Lord. People are just now saying therapy is okay. Sometimes some things you just can't pray out. Like sometimes you have to actively work to condition yourself. And you lean on the Lord. Yes, you pray and stuff like that, but you just don't solely pray. You got to change your mindset. You got to change your character. You got to recondition yourself. But a lot of the church, I would say back in the day, that wasn't a message that was very much brought out. It was very much your lost cause, not knowing the backstory of other people. Not every church is like that. There's some churches that are very extremely understanding, and there's some churches that they'll make commentary of someone's life and use it as a sermon, and it's not in a nice way. It's not in a nice way. It's actually very embarrassing. You do not want to come to church and be embarrassed, because then because you have such a authoritative position in church. Pastors have such an authoritative figure in church that followers follow their lead. So if I'm going to chastise you, especially smaller churches, there's smaller churches where I've seen where the pastor will be talking all time, popping mad stuff at the mouth about you, okay, and talking about but God loves you and God does it, but then literally cracking jokes, everything, and it's hurting your feelings, right? It's just like, yo, it's not even a sermon, it's just a roast fest. But then we'll slap God on it, like, well, God loves you and you're gonna heal, we're gonna pray through it. How about pray for kindness? How about pray for, you just need to stop being a horrible person right now, and just be a little bit nicer. You can still talk to someone and say, this is not okay. Where you're going is gonna be, it's not a good road, and still be understanding and loving about it. Oh yeah, this is definitely a way. You learn emotional intelligence. People tend to know persuasive speech and target audience tone of speech when it comes to something that they want, but they lack a lot of fundamental elements when it comes to target audience to be a better person, to be a nicer person, a more compassionate person. That speech leaves. It's like that level is like level 1, but your conviction level is like 1,000. You need to have a mixture of both. I'm not saying that you can't tell someone that what you're doing is not correct. You definitely tell them, but it's the way you tell them. That's what counts. And a lot of people, in order for you to really have compassion, you have to understand them, right? Some things, you know how many times I've been called lazy? You know, she's sleeping, she's so tired, life is so hard. And I've heard it from someone, and it's just like, bro, kidneys are no joke. You better be praying to God and be thanking God that your kidneys are okay. You better be thanking God that you don't have insomnia. You better be thanking God that your mind is not affected with depression or PTSD. I should actually be saying something to you. Oh, how wonderful it would be to have a clear mind. Wow, how does that feel? So there is some kind of, if you have nothing nice to say, shut up. Shut up. You have nothing nice to say. And I love it. I love people. But I just don't like some of the things that they do. And I don't like some of the ways that they're, if you want to talk about lazy, they're lazy in their approach of fully understanding you. It costs too much for you to find out through the horse's mouth. That's what you're telling me. You can do research on everything else, but you can't research the person that you're actually researching. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Because I can go down there and say the color green to one person for a specific reason, and people will come up with 50 million reasons on why you said the color green, and not know why you actually said the color green, and it never gets addressed. So you'll forever be seen as, she said the color green for this reason, and they have no idea. You have no idea. Why does someone have to get to the point where they have to explain themselves to that degree? Why does Truman have to get on a boat across the ocean, this make-believe ocean, to tear through a wall and leave the set for people to understand what you're doing is wrong. Why? And it's not something where Truman was trying to hide anything. He wasn't a fugitive. He didn't kill people. But Truman deserved his privacy. That's the reason why people don't live in glass houses. Because guess you're protecting yourself from people that actually may want to steal from out of your house. If everybody had glass houses, everybody would know what the hell they had and would be plotting. So, why does one house get to be glass? And why do you condone, if you're going to be having a convicted spirit, why are you condoning looking into a glass house? Your house ain't glass. Your house is not glass. So people use target audiences to get what they want. How are you going to use your target audience? Is it to get what you want? Or are you truly trying to understand people and help people? Are you trying to really solve a problem? Or are you just going to have a discussion panel about it? You know, it's you have to ask yourself that. Where are you coming from with this? Because some people are not a good influence on you. Your change of speech changes once you get around them. And your target audience, your approach changes, your marketing changes. And it's so weird. People act one way with one set of friends, act completely different by themselves, you know, and completely different with another set of people. Who are you trying to approve of, right? Who are you trying to approve with? But then leads me to believe, is this a validation thing that people do? Is this something where they're trying to maybe gain a deal? Are they trying to gain a deal, or are they trying to get something from out of that interaction maybe? I don't know. But are they truly your friends if you have to hurt other people in the process of it? People having football parties watching the Truman Show. It's wild. It's like watching the versus battle every day. You cool with that? Can we make a show about you? And I don't want to hear shut off the camera at any moment in time, because Truman didn't have that luxury. The cameras were always rolling. Always. So ask yourself that. Would you be okay with being on the Truman Show? And would you be okay dealing with implicit bias from people at all times that you don't even know who is who anymore? Because even the people that you trust, his wife, his family, his neighbors, turn out to not be trustworthy. The only person you got in this world is God at that point. Nobody else. That's the only person that Truman has. God.